Greetings, math fans. All right, so this is day 2 of chapter 7, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to write square roots, or we call them radicals, as exponents. And we call these rational exponents. And basically, a rational number is just a fraction. Okay, that's what a rational exponent is. Rational exponent is a fraction. So let me just give you an example. Let me do a general thing first, okay? So if I have a number here, an a, and I have an x to the, let's call it to the b power, okay? So I have two things. Do you guys agree that this is like a root, like a square root, a cube root? So this is a root, and this is a power. Okay, x to some power. Okay, so when I want to write this as a rational exponent and write it as a fraction, this is the way I write it. It's x to the, and that a goes in the bottom and the b goes on top, so it's b over a. Okay, this is probably the most important thing right here. This is exactly what I'm doing for this whole lesson, is to convert, to go back and forth between writing it with a radical symbol or writing it with a rational exponent. Okay, so a good way to kind of remember this is that roots always go into the ground. So the roots are always the bottom of the fraction, and if you're powerful, the power goes to the top, and so that's on the top of the fraction. Okay, just a way to remember that, because sometimes kids put that in the wrong place. They put a on top, and you don't have roots in the top of the plant, you have roots in the bottom of the plant. So roots go on the bottom, and the power, when you're powerful, it goes to the top. Okay, so for example, if I have the cube root of x to the fourth, and I want to write that with rational exponents. Again, rational exponents. I know I'm writing it again, it's okay. Rational exponents. I write that as x to the, and remember that 3 is a root, and the 4 is a power, so it's to the 4/3 power. That's a rational exponent. Okay, that's all you're doing. So I could give you this, and you come up with this, or I could give you this, and you have to come up with this. So we're going to kind of just play around here a little bit and do both, and show you how both of them work. Okay, I mean, I have showed you how they work, so that's actually pretty easy. Okay, so what if I just have this, the square root of x to the fifth? So the square root, you guys should know that symbol is a square root. So there's a number here, and sometimes kids like to put a 1 there. It's not a 1, it's a 2. Think of it. If I said, let me just write this out here. If I say that, what do you call that? You say, oh, x squared, okay, 2. So if I say the square root, it's automatically 2. You're not going to see it there, but there's a 2 there. That's important. Okay, so that means that's going to equal x to the 5/2. Remember, the root goes in the bottom. Okay, pretty easy, right? Okay, so let's do a couple more here. What if I said the third root of ab? Well, remember, these have a 1, okay, because you really need to have a number on top. You can't just have a 3 on the bottom. You can't write this as a and then just a 3 on the bottom, right? It's a 1, so it's a to the 1/3 and then b to the 1/3, and that would be the answer to this problem. So the deal is, if these have, you're going to kind of miss something, right? If this has no number here, you put a 1 there. If this has no number here, you put a 2, because it's always a square root. And if a by itself is just a to the first, and b by itself is b to the first. Okay? So if I said the fifth root of ab squared c cubed d to the fourth, you're going to rewrite this, put a 1 here, and you're going to say that's a to the 1/5, b to the 2/5, c to the 3/5, and d to the 4/5. Okay, pretty easy, right? So it's easy to go from a radical to rational exponents. So let's go the other way around. Okay, it's just not a big deal. So if I said x to the 2/7, y to the 8/7, and z to the 9/7, you would write this as that 7 is your root, so you're going to put a 7 here, and the top number is your power, so it's going to be x squared, y to the 8th, and z to the 9th. Okay, and that's it. That's how you do that. That's pretty easy. So I can give it to you this way. I can say a cubed b to the 4th to the 1/5 power. All right. So you can write this as, if I want to write, again with a radical, that 1/5 is your root. So there's a 5 here. Okay. And then it's going to be a cubed b to the 4th. Okay. All right. Pretty easy. It's not bad. You can put these in your calculator if you want. So let's do some stuff with numbers here, because I think that's important. If I said 8 to the 1/3 power. Well, yesterday we did this. We did the cube root of 8, and I showed you how to do that in your calculator. Right? Use that nice little friendly symbol above the caret, above this little guy here, which looks like this. Right? And so if you do that, you do 3. You'd hit this button, and then 8 equals, and you would get 2, because the cube root of 8 is 2. What you can do is you can actually type this in your calculator. You're going to type in 8. You're going to use this little up arrow. That's the caret. So that means like a power. And then you can do two different ways. You can say 1 and use the fraction button, 1/3, and that would give you 2. Or you can say 8 raised to the 1 divided by 3. So you can say 1 divided by 3, which is 2. Now the only thing here, math fans, is this one you got to use parentheses. In fact, I would just always use parentheses. It's 8 to the 1/3 power. Because what happens if you don't use parentheses, what's going to happen is it's going to do it this way. Let me just show you. It's going to say, when I say 8 to the 1/3, if I use no parentheses, it's going to actually do this first. It's going to say 8 to the 1st power, which is 8, and then it's going to divide it by 3. So your answer is going to be 8/3. And really your answer is 2. Okay? So you got to use those parentheses. But it's pretty easy. Okay? So I can do, let's see, if I did 16 to the 3/4 power. Okay? Put it in your calculator. Try it out and tell me what you get. Okay? You should get 8. All right, so that's just using your calculator. Okay? And that's pretty mellow. All right. So let's do a couple more difficult ones. Same idea, but just a little more challenging here. So if I give you guys the 7th root of, let's say, 4xy, and raise that to the 3rd power. All right, so don't make it a big deal, right? That's your root and that's your power. So this is really pretty easy. It's going to be 4 to the 3/7, x to the 3/7, and y to the 3/7. Okay, it's not bad. Okay, what happens if you have something like this? Let's say we have the cube root of 2x squared y to the 4th, and you do that to the 5th power. So it's got a little bit more to it. So here's the deal. That 3 is still a root. So the only other thing here is I have that, well, the 2 is easy. It's 2 to the 5/3, right? But this x squared, technically it's this, x squared to the 5/3 power, and y to the 4th to the 5/3 power. Okay, but you can't leave it like that. You can't leave an exponent to an exponent. So you guys need to remember, you got to multiply these to get together. That's probably something that this is from chapter or the first semester. Okay, but you got to multiply those together. So this is really 2 to the 5/3 power. That's going to be x to the right. That's 2 over 1 times 5/3, which is 10/3 power, and y to the 20/3 power. 4 times 5 is 20 over 3, so the 20/3. And that's your answer. Okay, so that's only if you have like an extra exponent in there. Just make sure it's truly each term in there is to the 5/3 power, but this one's squared and this one's to the 4th power, so you got to deal with those exponents. Okay. All right. The last part of your homework that you're going to have to deal with is going to say write as an exponential expression and then simplify if possible. So this is what I mean. If I give you guys the 10th root of x to the 6th. Again, this is really pretty easy. Remember, the root goes in the bottom, so it's x to the 6/10. And I don't care if you use your calculator to simplify this fraction, but that's what you want to do. 6 over 10 is 3/5. So the answer is x to the 3/5. Okay, that's all I mean by simplify. So if I gave you guys the 4th root of 16 y to the 12th. All right, so you're going to say 16 to the 1/4 power y to the 12th over 4, right? So that 16 over, it's a 1 there if you want to look at it that way. So it's this one I can put in my calculator. So put it in your calculator, 16 to the 1/4 power, and you should get 2, and y to the 12 over 4. 12 over 4 is 3, so it's y cubed. That's your answer. Okay? Okay, it's not too bad. Let's do one more. Here, we'll do it on the side here. What if I do the cube root of 125 x to the 8th y to the 9th? Okay, so it's going to be 125, and again, put a 1 here if you want, so to the 1/3 power, x to the 8/3 power, and y to the 9/3 power. So this is going to give you 5. Put it in your calculator, right? 125 to the 1/3 power is 5, and that you can't do anything with. So x to the 8/3 power, because you can't simplify that. And that one I can though. 9 over 3 is 3. So that's your answer. 5x to the 8/3, y to the 3rd power. Okay, so anyway, I kind of showed you how to go back and forth between writing as a rational exponent and writing it with as a radical. It's important to understand the difference between the two. Okay, that's it, my fans. You have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.